Welcome to another edition of TM3 Impact. Today, I have David and Alanna Garcia with Evoke Realty. I'm so excited. Welcome to TM3 Impact.
We're excited to be here.
Yes. And, this is round 2 for David.
That's true.
David was the first person ever on TM3 Impact. You remember that, David?
I remember that very well.
He didn't even know it was going to be a podcast.
I didn't even know he was recording.
You did not know.
You just thought it was like one big test?
I thought we were just talking, and then he was testing my voice out and like seeing how the mic worked, and then now it's a first one.
It's there, and the best part about it is right before that we had just had like a huge meeting, and David was very upset with me. You remember that?
Now
you remember.
What were you upset about?
Why did I get upset again? I'm just kidding.
It wasn't anything crazy. Yeah. It was just.
It's honestly amazing.
Yeah, it was just we were working through things, and it was a great conversation. And then right then we just jumped right into a podcast.
Wait, I love it. Now I want to go back and re-listen to it.
Yeah,
it's actually really good. And I actually listen to it often. I listened to it recently. I wanted to hear how I thought back then and how I think now. And definitely a lot of lessons learned. Like I definitely wouldn't do what I did back then, but there were definitely things that I wouldn't take back. And it shaped me how I am today. But I mean, even working here was every day was a new lesson. And I think about that every single day when I go to work. I'm like, man, what would Tomas do?
Yeah. Well, that was cool. That was definitely an amazing growth season for Luxury Home Magazine at that point. So let's kick this off.
Yeah.
I want to know San Antonio story, Cliff Note version, because you guys are married. You're a married couple, power couple here in San Antonio. So I want to hear Alanna's Cliff Note story, kind of like your San Antonio story.
Okay.
And then David's story, and then how y'all met.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad you asked me for the Cliff Note story. That way you don't have to fact check that David and our stories add up. Super long story short, we both went to the same high school, and I always had a crush on him. And fast forward to probably like junior, senior year, we kind of would talk and hang out. And then we went separate ways for college. So nothing super serious in high school. And David went to Texas State and then went to go get your master's at UIW. I stayed at UTSA. I was going to go to UT, but my dad was like, Alanna, you are a big fish in a small pond at UTSA at the time. So remember, this was back in 2009 when I was a freshman in college. So UTSA was still a commuter school. Football hadn't kicked off. And I was doing a lot on campus. I was involved in like giving tours, and I was an ambassador and part of the business advisory board. And so I was really involved really early on. And my dad was like, just stay put for what you want to do, which I thought was going to be PR. And so fast forward to I graduate UTSA and I start my own PR company on accident. And I did that for a while. And then I got an opportunity to get into title insurance. And that's where all of this kind of took a turn, because I was like, I don't know what title insurance is. At the time, it was going to be on the commercial side. And I was like, I don't know what an escrow officer is. I have to work with an attorney as my closer. I'm a PR girl. I'm not a sales and marketing girl, which back then in 2015, sales, marketing, PR, business development, all those were very different. Now they all somewhat kind of bleed into each other. And this was before online influencing and social media.
What year was that?
This was when I got the job offer. It was like 2014, 2015.
Okay, yeah.
So like Instagram was just coming out, but people weren't using it to monetize. You were just using it as like a digital scrapbook.
Right.
And so from there, I found really quick and great success in title. I got recruited to a title company, and that's where our stories kind of start to intersect, because at the time, the title company, and I think they still are, at the time, they were a sponsor of Luxury Home Magazine.
Yes, they were.
And David's career went to UIW to do nutrition, dietetics and nutrition. How did you end up at Luxury Home Magazine?
Yeah.
How did we both end up in real estate when that was not our original career path for why we went to school? And I'll never forget the day that David, and I love telling this story, I'll never forget the day that David came into our office, which I was a sales rep, so I was never really in the office, so I was there. And our front desk assistant was like, there's a David Garcia here to see you. And David was dropping off magazines, so he was doing his job.
Yes.
He did his job. He was doing the route, and I was like, "Gosh, I haven't heard that name in a while." And ironically, we were doing the John Maxwell We were doing the book club.
Yes.
And so it was my team with your team. And so we were seeing each other after that weekly.
Yeah.
And the day after, I remember this day, it was like one of the very last days of the John Maxwell. And I remember telling you, I was like, David and I are going to go to lunch after this. And you were like, really?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we're going to go to lunch. And we've been together ever since that lunch.
Dang.
We've never broken up. We've never... From that lunch, we just knew, like, we just kind of picked up where we left off. We caught up. We were in the same world, and we've been together ever since.
That's cool.
Not the Cliff Notes version,
I
but
like it.
She ordered chicken fried steak, double mashed potatoes, hold the veggies, and then took it to go.
I took it to go
And it
during
was-
the lunch.
It was at that point I knew
That is so on
She was the
brand for
one.
me. He literally was like, I can't believe you just took your leftovers to go. And you were like, nah, no vegetables. We'll do double mashed potatoes.
Love it.
And he was like, that's how I knew you were the one. And then, that was November. And so then the holidays hit. And by Christmas, he and I had like gotten pretty serious. And he proposed that following May.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. It was a great proposal. Now, David, tell me your Cliff Notes version of your story at San Antonio.
Yeah, well, same. I had a crush on you in high school. I would never tell her, but I did. Okay. And no, I went to school for undergrad and grad school for nutrition. My goal was to be a dietitian.
Okay.
I wanted to be a sports dietitian, and quickly I learned that there was financial, salary caps to that field. And I was okay. Well, I can be in business. I can start my own nutrition company. I can do my own counseling. I can try and make a company out of that. And it was very difficult because I had no capital. And I was like, you know what? Let me do a career shift. What do I love doing? I love selling. I love meeting people. I love networking. I love being surrounded by those who are like-minded. My previous job, it was kind of toxic. And so, I saw Luxury Home Magazine. I saw Tomas on Facebook. We boxed together, and I'm like, this guy.
That's right.
This guy's got it made. He's got the best family. He's got Luxury Home Magazine. I want to rub elbows with this guy. And I remember calling you up and interviewed. It was I was very nervous during the interview because I'd never been in this field before. And you assured me that I'll get you in front of people. Let me just teach you the process.
Yeah.
Let me teach you how to work. Let me teach you a work ethic. And that to me was what I wanted to be involved in. And so, during my time here, I learned so much about the real estate industry, marketing, what to do, what not to do, who to meet. And I always had a little small passion for real estate. I know I wanted to be in it. I didn't know how. And it was during that time, like, you know what? Let me just, spread my wings and fly. And luckily, I had an amazing boss that supported that. Yeah. And, took off running. And I met her during the process. And, that time, I didn't know what our future would be together. I knew that she was entitled, and I knew I wanted to do real estate, but never once did I think that we can do it together. And it was in the people we knew, the network we had, and the impact we had in the community that I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I want to be next to the person I love doing it.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the dream. That was the legacy. That's how I can kind of keep my footprint in this industry. And so, yeah, that's a fast Cliff Note version of where
I love
we're
it.
at. Yeah.
We got to go back though, because I remember boxing. I remember, being at Champion Fit Gym, right?
Yeah.
And so, David, I remember you at that point. This was when My Fit Foods was massive.
Yeah.
And were you working at My Fit Foods at the time?
I was a counselor there. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah. And then you would do meal prep and meal planning, right? You were doing meal prep and meal planning. And so when you think back to that time, what was the connecting point with that, and how to connect that with Luxury Home Magazine?
Yeah.
How did you connect those two dots? Because people that are watching this, they may be in a career where they're like, well, I don't see how I go to that next step.
Yeah.
Right.
What was it that you saw that could make that connection to go to the next step?
It was counseling. It was you're advising in almost any industry, and you're not just selling yourself, but you're gaining trust. And nutrition counseling was a whole different level. People wanted to trust that you knew what you're doing and how you can help them either lose weight, gain weight, whatever it was. And so once they trust you, once you build a relationship and build rapport, they're your lifelong relationship.
Yeah.
And that goes for any industry. It can go for anything. If you want to build a relationship with your current boss, find some rapport, find some connection. If you want to make new friends, if you want to find a spouse, everything, this world is built upon making connections.
Yeah.
Right.
And it translates to almost every industry. And it translated to Luxury Home Magazine. I got to meet a ton of great agents, great brokers, great title reps. And to me, it's just like those are lifelong connections now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Alanna, I actually met Alanna before I met you, right? So I remember, Alanna, we were working at the Dominion Business Center.
That's right. Wow, that's right.
You remember that?
Yep.
So my very first office was at the Dominion Business Center
Yep.
because Luxury Home Magazine needed a Dominion address.
Right.
It was like, this is brilliant on my part, right?
And I
We're-
had
we're
just
at
started my
Dominion.
PR company.
And you just started your
Yep.
PR company. So we would work in that little office. It was smaller than this.
Yeah.
Like
and
literally.
there was just like a bunch of tables up against the wall and everybody, there was a lawyer. Do you remember the guy that did the credit card processing?
Marcus. Yeah.
Marcus.
Oh, yeah.
It's like an
Yes.
incubator.
It really,
Yes,
it actually
it was.
kind of was, and they had a meeting room, and it was like like a co-working space,
Yeah.
and then you had started to kick off the evening and luxury events. I remember
Yes.
going to them,
Yes.
and then. Wow, you're right. It was just
Yeah.
kind of like a snowball effect from there. And then you and I were involved in like the Texas Young Professionals mixers and
Yep.
and all. I mean, we were just that was that time in 2015 when you just had to get out there
You had to be in
and
front of
you
people.
had to be in front of people and you had
Yep.
to
Yeah.
go and network and I do think so much has changed just over the years, but also COVID kind of changed things too. I know even since COVID, you and I have become more homebodies, but I also feel like we've put in the time, we've put in the work. We can, we have kids now. It's different when we had no kids and you could just, go to networking events Monday
For
through
sure.
Saturday. But that's right. I do
Yeah.
remember the Dominion Business Center.
Yeah, Dominion Business Center. So when you think back to your PR company, go back to that time frame. What are you pulling from that into this new stage with with Evoke? Like what are you pulling from that to draw on to build this business that you and David are building?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, PR, obviously it's changed over the years. Back in the day when I was doing it, I was writing press releases, pitching it to, radio stations, news stations for articles. It's so much has changed now because there is a lot of power. I mean, PR obviously is still there and is so powerful, but there is now a lot of power of influencers and social media and like mom bloggers and depending on your demographic. And so there's so much weight in that. But I always say once a PR girl, always a PR girl. It's always David's like, I'm going to call Alanna for that. I think there's so much of perception is reality. Yeah. So much of what people perceive to believe is true to them or it is their reality. And I take real estate and realtors, for example. You can see these realtors that have, if they may have bought hundreds of thousands of followers, and to the outside world, it looks like they are the authority in real estate, and it looks like they have so much business. And maybe and David will look them up, and they've never done one deal.
Right.
But they perceive to look like they're really successful, and you know what? Good for them, because at some point that will start to get some traction. Now, on top of it, you have to be good at it, and
know what
have
the
some
heck you're
sort of
doing.
and know what you're doing,
Yeah.
and have some sort of integrity, and all the other things, but. I feel like I take on, with PR to our brokerage, I'm like, number one, we are all about public perception. And I don't mean that from a smoke and mirrors angle. I mean that of we need to make sure that we show our clients and our audience that we are going to be a brokerage that has the highest respect and dignity and integrity. We're not going to be known for doing anything weird or shady or, we are all about building a business of legacy for everybody in our brokerage as well. Yeah. And so, but so much of this business is optics.
Yeah.
And I want our agents to look like the authority, but also show and prove that they are the leading authority in not just real estate, but in all things San Antonio.
Yeah.
I want their, I think one of the agents said it at your event, the luxury home event. She was saying I want my clients to move here and relocate here and say, where do I send my kid to school? And where do I get my nails done? And what restaurant do I go to? And that's where the PR girl in me, I've built so much of our business on just networking and connections and relationships. Yeah. And I think the same is for all of us of you don't burn bridges.
Right.
And, just like you don't burn bridges with journalists and editors and producers, you don't burn bridges with other realtors and other people in the business. And so much of that is kind of, I bleed over. And of course, then there's also the PR angle of it, which I still handle and doing things like this for exposure. And I always say jokingly and very loosely that who cares what they say as long as they spell your name right.
Yeah, right,
PR is PR.
right.
It is what it is. Granted, I do not hope and wish for bad PR on any of us, but it comes with the territory.
It happens.
And it happens, and agents leave and people talk and stuff happens, and whatever it is, people are going to come up with their own idea. And that's where the PR girl in me kind of goes into overdrive. And I'm like, all right, you guys, here's what we need to continue doing. And here's what we need to focus on. And we're not going to give this any light or any attention. And I think honestly, it's been the biggest blessing to have as my backbone and as my, original career, because a lot of my PR classes were psychology and communication and business.
Right.
And so yeah, just a lot of that.
So it's a lot of overlap. I see that.
If not overlap every day. All of it.
So David, think back to when you were making the shift to start Evoke, like when that kind of got into the incubator. Number one, I want to know why the name. Right. Let's talk through that. Where did that come from? And then what were you originally envisioning? Because when you started it, were you already on board at that point, Alanna? Kind of in the business at that point?
Well, I was still in title, but it was always the idea of he saying, like, if I was going to do this, I'm not doing it without you. And I was at a time in my title career where I was just like maxed out. I was burned out. I was under some really poor leadership. And I just thought, and we already knew we wanted to have another baby. And so I was like, look, if I'm going to do this, I rather you and I do this at 110%. Like, there's no way you can be broker and PR and marketing and culture and all these things.
And the realtor.
And exactly. Right. And also still be in production, which is going to feed our family. And so that's kind of where the original idea came from.
Yeah. Yeah. So the name Evoke was, we didn't want to be real estate group. We didn't want some kind of generic name. And so we also wanted to convey some emotion behind it, some feeling of motivation and movement. And at first, we actually chose Invoke, and we realized that had a negative connotation to it. And so we kind of kept thinking, and I just want to evoke something. I want to that's a great name, Evoke. And now it actually was Evoke Realty at first, and we've kind of slowly the past 3 years or so trained it down to just Evoke, and the brand itself has a whole cleaner look to it, and it's more of a household name than it is a real estate company. And I think that comes back to our 3 pillars that we decided the company we want to be was content, culture, connection. We thrive on content. It's how we generate leads. It's how we build trust. And then the culture is, what we build inside the office between agents, between outside industry people, between connections. And then, the connection is obviously tying in our connections, So if somebody wants to join Luxury Home Magazine, call Tomas. He's a good friend of mine. He'll help you out. He'll get you some brand awareness. And so that connection really goes further for our clients. I have clients that are physicians, lawyers, in different industries. And if I know there's a connection between two and I can somehow build a relationship, I've just become way more valuable in the long 100%. Run. And so that's how we envisioned the company starting it. Yeah. And that really didn't exist on a level in San Antonio that I feel we're at. And it started with content. I was already doing videos with you, and we started off doing that, and I knew how that would blow up, and I knew what other agents would want to be a part of. And so doing vlogs that had, a in-depth look of our life and our kids and our family, and then translating that over to real estate and how it involves them and restaurants. And during COVID, we would interview on Facebook Live, Instagram Live. We knew content was the pillar of business.
Oh, yeah.
I can spend money on Zillow leads. I can spend money on Google Ads, which is great. But how do I get somebody to like, know, and trust me over time? How do I build a brand? And it started back in 2016, 2017. Yeah. Just constantly posting Instagram stories and videos and involving you in those. And so that was the vision we both had of building something together, and how do we explode that, and what's the next step now?
So when you think about the word evoke, Alanna, like what was the emotion that you were thinking in terms of starting a brokerage called Evoke? What was that driving force, and what emotion were you looking to kind of like put out into the universe? That's
actually everything you just said is actually kind of the workshop that he and I were discussing. We were upstairs in our media room, and I went on the Webster's Dictionary app, and I just typed in like a bunch of really powerful words, and I kept clicking synonyms. And I was like, strength, resilience, motivation, determination. Yeah, this was before ChatGPT. Oh, yeah. Or else that would have probably come a lot easier. But I just kept doing synonyms, and then Evoke came up because we thought like, well, we want to create a feeling. We want it, I think Mark Cuban said it best. He was like, all of the major household brands end up being like one name, and people use them as a verb. Go Google that. Yeah. I'm going to Amazon it. And so it's like, we wanted that same thing. And so I joke around that we were like Beyonce or Madonna, and we're down to our one name because we wanted it to be a household name. And so we started off with Invoke, and then we asked my mom, who was like a former reading specialist and educator. And she's like, well, Invoke kind of has a negative connotation. Just, depending on how you use it. And then we looked up like a synonym to it, and it said evoke. And we wanted to evoke emotion. We wanted to evoke passion and leadership and home ownership and financial freedom and legacy and generational wealth. Like we wanted our name to be synonymous with a really positive outlook or feeling or outcome.
We also didn't want, like, if we had a coffee mug or a sweater or a t-shirt or a hat, we didn't want it to be an obvious thing that it was a real estate group. We wanted people to think on it. We wanted people to say, okay, what is that company? Evoke?
Or people have to look it up.
Yeah, and then over time, it just like, okay, now I get it. It's more of a lifestyle, to be honest. And so, yeah.
And that's why we started with Realty for a while. So everybody kind of knew what we were doing, what we were up to, obviously. And then after a while, we were like, okay, we feel like we've established a name and a brand in this business. Let's go ahead and drop the Realty. So then that way we could be Evoke Lifestyle, and it could translate into a bunch of other things, which would be something later on for scale, which is kind of what we're building the foundation for now. And it's like, we really wanted it to be a household name. It's like, oh, you work for Evoke.
Yeah.
What is that? What could that mean?
Yeah.
Evoke Media, Evoke Farm and Ranch, Evoke Luxury, you name it. It could translate into so many other things also outside of real estate, which is what our grand plan eventually will be. And so that's why I'm like, yeah, we went to a one name basis because we wanted people to feel something while working with one of our agents or while being under our leadership or our guidance. People are like, wow, I really come in here feeling like I am evoking home ownership or motivation or passion or leadership or, you know, an opportunity, whatever that looks like.
And I feel like it's also it's overshadowed that we built this company in like 30 days. Like it was super fast, and we didn't have, I think if it wasn't for our experience with you and our prior employers and the leadership we had and the training we had and the overall just network we had, it wouldn't have existed now. Like those 30 days where we were both in office, she was pregnant, for 30 days straight, 24/7. How do we, and it was like the first real business we started. So I'm learning, okay, I need a bookkeeper. I need a real CPA. I need all these things, payroll. I need to hire. How do I hire? And so there's so many things that you learn so fast.
Yeah.
Because we had the business, we had the agents that already want to be on part of it. And how do we build this brand that looks like it's been around for 20 years?
Right.
And so it was
in 30 days.
In 30 days. And then it exploded. The next 6 months were just nonstop. And the funny thing is, we started the company in a bad market.
Yeah, what year was that? Was that
23?
Mid 22.
22. Yeah.
Mid 22.
You're right. Fall of 22.
And I was telling a lot, like, man, this market is not going in a direction where it's been the past 2 years. The past 2 years has been, easy.
The frenzy, the COVID frenzy.
And so I'm like, this goes two ways. We succeed really well during the bad years, and we explode during the amazing years.
Right.
And luckily, we took off running, and it's been a nonstop trajectory up. And it makes me happy because now we're at a tail end of a bad market, slowly peaking back up, and everything we've built the past 3 years or so has now started to even just compound.
Yeah, big. I love that. I love that. The three pillars is interesting to me. The three C's: the content, culture, and connection. What are you? Talk a little bit about. What are you doing to build that culture? You know what I mean? David, you start off and then Alanna could tag in, but what are you doing specifically to really tie in the agents to the culture of Evoke?
Yeah, so my expertise, my role in the company is, broker support, contracts, guiding people through questions and negotiations and strategy. I think my culture is every agent knows that they can call me at any point, anytime.
Okay.
And it's hard to find that in other firms. It's hard to find somebody that's actually in the weeds with you, doing the deals, experiencing the market the way you are. And to me, our agents know that they have access to that.
That's good.
And it feeds into in-office culture, in-office trainings, classes, coaching. And that's more of her role, as she thrives in that environment. So I'll let you kind of explain.
Yeah. So what we did is we got everybody's love languages. So on top of doing disc profiling, we did everybody's love languages, and everybody likes to receive love different ways. And so we wanted to make sure with culture that within culture, there was all those pillars of some of them like gifts. And so, okay, we want to make sure for a while at Christmas, we were doing these lavish gifts, and then it got to be so much of a time consume, but we were doing gifts, and we always like to make sure that we're loving on them, whether it's their birthdays or anniversaries, whatever that looks like. Some of them, it's affirmation. Mm-hmm. So that's when we created Evoke Elite, and those were our quarterly top producers. We take them out to lunch. They get a certificate. We do the awards banquet at the end of the year. Quality time. We do power hour every week. Every Tuesday at 10 a.m., you know where to find us. We'll be at the office. And a lot of times, like today, we substituted it for a CE class, or we'll have a guest speaker or presenter. Quality time, we do book club. You and I have done that together, but I do book club for the agents, coaching, all of those different, aside from some of the other ones that don't apply to us, but like I wanted to make sure I filled everybody's buckets. You want to spend quality time learning and coaching? Great. You want to spend quality time doing happy hour? Sure, we'll do that too. And
or do you want to feel the family aspect? And we've had our agents come to our house where I make them Italian dinner, pasta, homemade pasta. We got pots, we got wine, pots like a pasta. We got wine, we got everything laid out like as if it's a family dinner.
Smart.
And it's a very intimate thing. Most of it's not even talking about real estate. We're just kind of catching up. And so to me, like you can't find that anywhere.
No.
Yeah, and some of our best conversations have come from those evenings where I'm just like, phones down, everybody, cameras down. Like, this is not for content. Let's just catch up. What's everybody feeling? And what are you thinking? And what are your concerns? I think another thing with culture is we involve our agents, at least to the best of our ability. We try to involve them in a lot of our decisions. When we got our first office, it was kind of just what we could afford and what was available at the time under our terms. We didn't want to be locked into 5-7 years. So it was really flexible. So we got it. All of our agents outgrew that office. All of our agents said, it doesn't feel warm. It doesn't feel inviting. We made it more of a lounge.
We had 33 agents in the size of this room. It was,
and they were like,
tight.
the chairs hurt.
Wow.
The sitting at a bar is not good. We have to sit on the floor. So we took that feedback and we built out an office in the same office downstairs. So we customized it. We built it. They were like, we want a place to set up shop, but we want it to be collaborative. We want a front desk. We want a lobby. We want a conference room. So we took all those things into consideration, and now we've built them their perfect office.
That's cool.
So we try to get them a part of our decisions as much as we can, and as much as they're privy to, I guess. There are still a lot of things David and I work on behind the scenes, but making them feel like they're a part of it and they're bought in and they're invested, which is why we've had such a low turnover, because so many of our agents have been with us from the beginning. They've seen the growth. They believe in us. We believe in them. We've kind of grown up all together in this business. And so that's one of the ways, the big ways that I think we really foster our culture is just involvement. We have a group chat. Everybody helps each other out. We really encourage helping each other out, whether it's showing or open houses or anything like that. Just help each other out, work together as a team and a family.
Yeah, and then content. So they know that I started out doing content. So if I'm on video, doing videos, posting on social media, doing the work that they should be doing, they're going to do it too.
Yeah.
And once one does it, everybody's going to see it, and it creates this this vibe of we need to promote as much as we can. We need to make as many videos as we can. And so that to me it's a content culture too.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So let's talk. I think will be really good for people that are listening to this is I think we need to talk about pain points, because anytime you start a business, there are going to be pain points. There's going to be points in the business where you go, why did we do this? Like you're just you're gonna hit that wall. You know what I mean?
Why did we hire David in 2016?
That wasn't ever a question. But you're gonna hit moments where you just kind of go like, dang, like I didn't know it was going to be this hard. And then there are points where you go like, if I knew it would be this hard, would I have, right? So I want you to think specifically, Dave, I'll start with you. Like, think about like that first pain point or that first barrier. What was it and how did you get breakthrough?
Man, you're right. There's a lot. So I think for me, I put a lot of trust in people. I put a lot of trust in our agents and our staff and us together. And so when we're both passionate about something and we give it our all and we're just doing everything we can to make this succeed, some people don't share that level of just motivation. Everybody has a different level of work ethic, a different level of involvement. And to me, in my mind, when I first started was, I want everybody to be on the same page as me. This is my company. I'm going to run it the way I want to. You need to be next. To me, it's just like I took off like that. And I learned over the past, honestly, decade, like just everybody's a different level. Yeah. And I got to sometimes come down and kind of just be on their level and communicate with them that way. And so that runs to the first hires we had, the first office lease terms. We didn't take out any credit. We don't have any credit line. This is built purely on just our capital and our financial backs. And so there was a lot of risk in a bad market, and a lot of risk having a baby on the way. And to me, I was like, man, this cannot fail no matter what. And so I was so deep and emotional about everybody just being on that page with me. And I learned quickly, it's not anybody's problem but mine. And to this day, I know that no matter what, we gotta keep working as a team. Yep. No matter what the market throws at us, it's us and that's it. Yeah. And we're lucky if we have everybody in the same level.
Yeah. Nobody's gonna bleed out for your company the way you do.
No.
I mean, at the end of the day, though. I can't teach motivation or momentum or passion. Like it has to just be in you. And David and I, what wakes us up is knowing that like we don't have a fallback and we don't have a plan B. And you know, like Ryan Serhant said, like plan B is bankrupt. Like, and you know, ours is obviously not that dramatic, but I mean, what do we do when we've invested everything? Like David said, we're a financially healthy company. We've had very generous offers for people to invest or want to be a part of it, and we just said, you know what, we just rather keep it us, and we rather grow slow and steady, and that's been really helpful. But I also think, you know, pain points, I feel like we kind of just live as business owners, and you would understand this, you just kind of live in the messy middle. It's just about managing it. And every day is the messy middle, because you might solve one problem, but then another one arises, and you hire one person, but then another person leaves. And, you know, it's just whatever that it is, you know, you just get out of the weeds with something, and then now it's time to plan the Christmas party, and now it's time to get budget squared away and sponsors. It's like, and then all these expenses, like you're constantly in the messy middle as a business owner. And I think the times that David and I aren't, we get a little nervous because we're like, oh no, the shoe's going to drop. When is it? So it's, and I think, you know, Nikki Salter said it best. She's like, you just have to create an environment of which you can't tap out.
Yeah.
You cannot tap out. You have to surround yourself with people that allow you to the opportunity to be down, but get back up, and you are in the ring, stay in the ring. And, you know, there's been highs and lows, and David and I, every day, we're just like, stay in the ring, don't tap out, stay in the ring, don't tap out. And that's just life of a business owner, because it is true. Like there's some days where David's like, I gotta go to the office all weekend because it's time to do everybody's, tax forms or whatever. And I'm like, okay, there's stuff like that. And then there's other times where we have our own personal stuff going on with our kids and life. And it's always the messy middle, and until you can kind of start to delegate a lot out. But, you know, it is what it is. I also think we kind of thrive in that environment of
we're both very similar in that we're not content. Like, I think the most successful people aren't content. They always want more.
Yeah.
It's never
Hungry
good
for
enough.
more.
It's always like, okay, we're here, now what?
What's next?
And so we've always been in that mindset. And I think when we got a real hold on the company and where we're at, I think it's just more strategy, kind of being more methodical in how we're going to say yes to certain things, say no to a lot of things. And so I think we've learned a lot of that over the past few years. Is there's okay to say no, and it's okay to be strategic.
Yeah, the no part is hard in the beginning because you feel like you almost have to chase a lot.
Right.
But I'll say this. It's very interesting because today we had an event that just kind of like the wheels just kind of fell off. Like we're sending out invitations to an event and the wheels come off, and we're like, oh yeah, we can't. That venue's changed. Oh yeah, and we're 2 days away from the event.
Oh gosh,
Yikes.
been there.
And I'm on the phone with Christina, and I'm like, well, you know, the best thing to do when things like this happen are you just cancel, you know. And I'm like, we got, you know, like because everything is working against us,
right?
And so I drove home. And as I'm driving home, because I could sense the frustration that Christina was going through, because she's moving, you know, it's like she's parting the Red Sea, trying to figure out how to make it work. And as I'm driving home, I think, okay, if there's ever a moment that I could just dive into a situation and just in this messy middle, and how do I just kind of figure out how to clean up this one aisle? Like, what could I do? And so I just texted her and I said, what if we throw a Hail Mary and we do X and Y? And I got home and I called every single client in Austin.
Wow.
This was just before this. So I started calling at 10 o'clock. From 10 o'clock till 1 when I got here, before I got here, I called every single client and basically invited him to this event going, hey, here's the situation. We're going over here. I really want you to be at this cool event. You should come. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that there's a piece to this, no matter where you're at in your business, where you're going to have to take drastic measures, get in the messy middle, and not tap out.
Yeah.
Don't tap out.
That's what makes you great. Some people would have let that fall apart. But you had the wherewithal to know, okay, if I just personally call everybody and have a conversation with them, they're going to want to come.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but I will tell you, I didn't want to make those phone calls.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
No, of course not.
I didn't want to, but I knew that would be the best thing. And and I think for business owners, it's like, hey, there's gonna be really hard decisions that you have to make and hard things you got to do. go do it, because the return on that investment, the conversations that I had today, I can't wait to tell my team about them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right.
Had some great conversations.
Lessons learned.
You know, just some really, really cool conversations because of that. All right, so pain point's good. So now I want to talk through, like, how are you? How are you hiring? Like, what are you doing to hire right now? Because I would imagine, you know, is this kind of like, are you wanting to really seek out people? Are you trying to attract? What's kind of the goal with hiring? Alanna started, and then David kind of tap in.
Yeah. So, I mean, David and I kind of go back and forth on this as well. We love the idea of remaining boutique, which is relative, because, you know, on the last podcast we did, they were like, boutique could be 20 or it could be 100. Like, it just kind of depends on what people consider boutique. I say boutique meaning like we can actually have really good intentional relationships with every single one of our agents. That's hard at 100. But David's always thinking of growth and scaling. You know, obviously the bigger we get, there's more opportunity, more money made, all the money that goes back into the brokerage. So I love the idea of remaining really exclusive. We've had some agents that we reach out to and they're like, I didn't think y'all were hiring. I thought y'all were invite only, and I love that idea because it lets people know that we have kind of higher standards. But I never want anybody to feel like they're not good enough. Let's at least have a conversation. You know, we do have standards though. We do have a production minimum. We do have a year minimum. Obviously those numbers we've, you know, just over time and with coaching and with training and with research, we've realized that for a while it used to be like minimum of 3 years in the business. But with research, we've noticed that once somebody's 3 years in the business, they've usually found their home.
Oh yeah.
So maybe 2 years is our sweet spot, where maybe they've been to a big box brokerage, maybe they've done a more one mom and pop shop, and they want something that's kind of a mix in between. Obviously, somebody has to know if they're coming from a transaction fee only. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow because that's not our model. But you have to realize all the things you gain in return.
Right.
But our agents, you know, we're always hiring. We're always looking. We have a lot of agents that slide into our DMs or email us. And we have our assistant, Lila, that kind of fields through those and does some research on them. How much business have they done? You know, I say that we're not a brokerage for brand new agents.
Yeah.
It's not because we just don't want to be, but we just don't have the model to support how to write a contract.
Yeah.
The ABCs of real estate. And, you know, and also we're also, as much as we operate as a family, we're also very autonomous. Everybody go out, do your business. You know where to find us at Tuesdays at 10 a.m. You know, for coaching, you know, for broker support, you know where to find us. And a lot of our conversations are high level that might kind of fall flat on some newer agents. I always recommend them go to a big box brokerage, go to a Keller Williams, go do Bold, go do all their training, go to somewhere like that. And then also they'll never wonder if the grass is greener on the other side. Some people really do like the really big name or the big culture, camaraderie, different for us. And we have some agents that are like, been there, done that. I want more access to broker support, more one-on-one. I want to operate as a team. So we're always hiring. We're looking for agents that have been in the business a few years, that are looking to find their forever home, or looking for the next 5 years to just like really crush it. We always say that any agent that comes to us always has their best year ever, every single year. And it's true. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They get access to videos, they get access to coaching, brokerage support, camaraderie, culture. But, you know, our ideal agent is somebody that this is their full-time job. And you know, using the term full-time and part-time is also relative, because we've had some agents in the past that are like, I'm part-time, but I've done 6 million. Like, that's full-time status.
That's pretty good.
You know, if you can do enough to supplement an income, when I say part-time, I mean, you cannot go have a 9-to-5 job that requires like, you can't come to meetings, classes, trainings, events, anything like that. I mean, for a while, we had a few people that had to get side jobs, and we would never see, a year would go by and we never saw or heard, because they had full-time jobs.
Right.
So that's what we mean. We mean people that this is their source of income. This is their full-time job. This is their career. This is their passion. They can dedicate to coming to classes, to doing showings during the day, open houses, events, coaching, book club, all of those things. And I'm sure David will talk about it more from a...
Yeah, I mean, they just have to be a team player. At the end of the day, we're so close as a unit that, you know, you get one bad apple and it ruins everything. And so they have to be, you know, high integrity. You know, their name can't be tainted. It has to be a really solid person. And I love agents that got their license like 2018 because they're probably just seen video come out in San Antonio, and they experience an okay market, a great market, and now a bad market. And so now it's like, okay, they've weathered it. They've been through the storms. And I can see their production through each market. And so that's my favorite, you know, agent era, is that one. And then a lot of times our agents will do deals with another agent on the other side, and they had a really good experience. And, this person was amazing to work with. She's got a great work ethic. Her communication's amazing. You should reach out for an interview.
Or they reach out and they say, hey, tell me more about your brokerage. I'm so glad to do a deal with an Evoke agent. Tell me more. Is it true you get videos or, all those things? So a lot of word of mouth.
I had a listing in Bernie, and an agent showed up. I was agent open, so I was showing the house myself as a listing agent. And, I showed the house as I would with any other buyer and seller. And so I would just walk through the house. At the end of the showing, that agent ended up getting a listing down the street. And I was like, okay, that person obviously has a great book of business. And one of our other agents had a mutual relationship with them. And I said, hey, see if they're interested in joining. Like, one, they were great to work with and great to meet. And two, if they're getting business over here, they're probably pretty good. And so lo and behold, she reaches out, and that person, that agent, was like, man, I didn't even know you were hiring. It was like dating.
She said you had such a poker face.
I was like, no, I would love to work with you. And so it ended up working out. Like, we just kind of meet people in passing that shared that vibe. Almost.
Now she's one of our top producers.
Yeah, she is. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's really, really cool. All right, switching gears. Okay, you're a married couple that works together, right? Yeah. So I mean, I've lived this, for the last, Christina and I, started Luxury Home Magazine in 2011. We're going into 15 years, which is crazy to think about, right? And so I want you to think about, and David, I'm gonna start with you. Like, when you, for those that are listening that are married and they're working together, what is your biggest piece of advice for those that maybe they're trying to start a company? There's that advice for those starting to start a company. Like, how do you, keep from killing each other? Well, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But how do you do that? And then what are some of those or like one tip for later on as you're more established?
Okay. Well, I think there is no such thing as balance. I think that's a huge thing. And when a lot of people start companies, especially married, they think, oh, we got to balance home life and work life, and there's really not. It comes in waves. You have 2 weeks where it's insanity, and you have 1 week where it's not so crazy and you're a little bit flexible. Take advantage of that week, because in 2 more weeks it's gonna be crazy busy. And so we learn really well, like, hey, if there's 3 days where we get an open schedule, let's go to date night. Let's get a sitter. Let's go do something, because I know it's gonna be crazy the next few weeks. So there's no balance, and you can't get worked up on it. And I do think that we know our roles really well. We know what each other's strengths are. And we don't kind of cross those lines. And I rely on her, and I trust her with a lot. And you got to have that trust, both at home, in office, and it translates to just being at home at dinner. Like, it never really turns off. You just got to know when each other is being vulnerable in a situation to where you can turn it off for that moment.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's really good. Alanna?
And then I also want to add that, as a husband, mature enough to know that your role is still to protect, provide, and be responsible for how she is.
Yeah.
And there's always moments throughout the day that I'm like, okay, I know we're hustling and bustling, but is she okay personally? Are there things going on outside of work that I can have that wherewithal to kind of, see if all is good emotionally? And then people forget that. You get so caught up in the day-to-day that you forget that you're still there for each other as a partner.
You have to.
Yeah.
That's a good piece. Alanna? Well,
you and Christina are great examples. Yeah, and David touched on a lot of points, but I always say this is like one of my favorite topics, because he's right. There is no balance. It's just going to be, when he and I did marriage prep, I'll never forget, the priest was like, your marriage and your relationship is going to be like a fidget spinner, equal on all corners, but like, it's going to be heavier on some days. Kids might require a lot of attention, your personal, and then work. And so, we support each other really well. I say it's harder to raise 2 young, defiant toddlers with him than it is to run a business. Like, it's me trying to be like my firm parenting, and she's like, Daddy said I could have candy before bed, and I'm like, David, we need to be on the same page about this, or Daddy said I can stay up. And that's harder than running a business by far, is just getting on the same page about parenting. But he's right, there's no balance, and we try to support each other where we can. There's days where he's like, I need to stay at the office. And I'm like, stay as long as you need. I will take care of dinner, bath, and have the kids in bed. Don't worry. And then there's other times where I'm like, I need a happy hour, or let's go to dinner, or very rarely do I go out with girlfriends. I always rather go to dinner with you, or that's why we travel a lot, because that's like our reset. And some of our most defining, deep, almost kind of, not to be dramatic, but like life-changing conversations have happened when we're on trips, because I'm intentional about it. And we ask really tough questions, or we have hard topics because I'm like, there's no better place than to be having this discussion than by the beach or in Vegas or wherever we go. I mean, those are like some of the deepest conversations that we have, because when we go to dinner during the week, it's like a lot about work and what do we have going on. And another thing, like he said too, is so many of my friends are like, how could you ever work with your husband? I would kill him.
Yeah.
We stay in our own lanes.
Yeah.
We know what our roles are. I think because I didn't come into a business he already created and had people and staff established, and I didn't try to pave my way and vice versa. We started it together. His role was operations, broker, owner, and I was everything else. I was not going to touch the financials. I was not going to handle legal. I was going to be recruiting, content, culture, marketing, all of that. Mm-hmm. And we really fell into those roles really well.
Yeah.
And I think the agents know that as well. We just stay in our lanes and we really respect each other. You know, we make almost every decision together, but at the end of the day, I'm like, that's your jurisdiction. Here's my opinion. Yeah. But that's your overall, here's what I think, but that's your jurisdiction. Or we'll say, you know, are we on the same page about this? But half the time it's harder our personal life. Like right now we're trying to buy and sell a house and he's like, you are my most annoying client I've ever had. Stop. He's like, you are like my worst seller asking me for showing feedback.
She is.
Oh,
I'm terrible. I'm terrible.
It.
And so like that's harder than running a business and making business decisions. But I think my biggest piece of advice is figure out what your roles are and consult with each other. But remember, at the end of the day though, you have 50% voting power in that lane.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. And if you want to find a third person, I mean, legally you might need a third person for some decisions, but that's just kind of how we've divided it. We respect each other's roles really well, and it just or else we would go crazy.
It's also a great benefit too. Like I'll have conversations with clients and agents, and I don't know how to respond back. My personality is a lot different than hers, and her PR skill level is like, hey, I need you to craft this so it's not. I'm not too blunt. And so she's great at that. And then if she had people inquire about real estate, she goes, hey, that's not my lane. Let me push it this way. And so we kind of go back and forth a lot, and it really benefits.
No, it's that tag team effect, right? Mm-hmm. It's that's the beautiful part of it. So the two things that I think are really important, the no balance thing. I've been telling people this for a long time, and I firmly believe you cannot have life balance. Like, especially if you're going to run a business, you're going to be at a balance at one point.
Right.
Work's going to be crazy. Right?
Right.
Home life's going to be crazy. There's just going to be out of balance. And I like that fidget spinner, right? Like life sometimes will be weighted one side or the other. You just don't know. It could be family illness. It could be, kids. It could be whatever. It could be vacation. Yeah. But like enjoy your vacation.
Right.
Well,
like unplug.
And Stella, Stella, our oldest, just started kinder and she started brand new school. We kind of dedicated our summer to really being lax and being with her. We brought her to the office. David took her on like individual little trips. We really poured into her. I had her with some like extra tutoring over the summer and for English. And so little things like that. We were like, summer is her summer before she starts kinder. This is going to be such a formative time for her and memories. And so we really spent our time. And then we knew that like once she started school, all right, we're back to business. But for the summer, our fidget spinner was weighted in family. And did our business take a little bit of a backseat? Sure. Did David marketing and doing client events take a backseat? Yes, but we do not regret it. I would do that all over again to have Stella back in our office because we can't do that now. She's in school and she has marked absences.
We also knew going into the season that we need systems built out to where we can do that a little bit,
right?
And it's still on autopilot.
Yes.
To me, it's just I love the craziness. And it's times where like we're on vacation and we're like in Vegas, we're like, okay, let's get back. It's just I want to go back into the wild. And so I love the no balance. Yeah,
and I think for people to understand that it's okay to when you're on vacation to enjoy it. It's okay when you're in the weeds, embrace the weeds because if you're busy. That's a good thing.
Yeah. The best is when you're in Vegas, busy as hell. And you're like, your phone's bumping, you're doing deals. I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this. So that's my favorite time.
Yeah. My wife, Christina, calls that a work with a view. She calls it work with a view. Yeah. And we've actually, we did like was it a 6-day cruise? And every day we were at our team meeting, and every day we were working during the day, and I was making phone calls on the hot sheet. David, you get a kick out of this. Awesome. I was literally calling people from the middle of the Gulf of America or the Gulf of Mexico. You pick, right? I was in the middle on Rink Central making phone calls. literally going down the phone list.
Love it.
But you
It
know
was
what? Because
hysterical.
we can. And that's
can.
what I tell that to people all the time. I'm like, the blessing and the curse of this business is we can work anywhere. The curse is that it doesn't shut off. We don't
Right.
clock out. We're not, we're not like in another field where we clock out and nobody can get a hold of you. You don't have an email to check. You're not always thinking about leads and clients and nobody's bothering you. But at the same time, we can up and go on a Monday to Vegas if we needed to. And there's been a lot of times where when we leave on vacation, a lot of times he's dealing with stuff, but at least we're able to do that. And we're emailing and texting. There's been times where I went on a girls trip and there I was in my hotel, like trying to submit something for the last minute for Business Journal. Like, so, it is what it is, but that's the beauty of our business is that we can work with a view, we can work anywhere, and we don't have to answer to anybody as long as we're taking care of our clients. And like David said, we've built systems and processes to where we can pull back a little bit in the summer, but nobody feels it.
Right. That's good.
We feel it because we're like, wow, we're operating at 110. We're operating at maybe an 80, but we're able to build out those. And we have all the people in place. And, we have assistants and transaction coordinator and virtual assistant. We've got all these people in place to help us make sure that nobody feels the shift and we can enjoy it. But yeah, does it ever shut off? No.
Yeah. Well, surprisingly,
and when it does, that's scary.
having kids probably gave us more balance.
For sure.
Than we had no kids.
Interesting. Yeah.
It gave us more boundaries. It gave us a,
No, it's like bookends.
Yeah,
Drop off and
well-
pick up is
well,
like we can get as much stuff done in the day.
Yeah, not just like through time, but also like just dealing with people. Like, I can't talk past 6 p.m. Like, I really can't. I want to, but you're gonna hear kids screaming in the background.
Yeah.
So it just gave us a little bit of boundary on that, and I do appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. I don't know who I was talking to. My brother TJ just had a baby.
Oh, nice.
You remember
He did,
TJ?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So TJ just had a
awesome.
baby. He and Barb just had a baby.
Wow.
And I mean, this baby is cute.
Oh.
It's tiny, like tiny. And I was sitting and it was really interesting because I was remembering when Enzo was little and it was like, we told everybody no.
Yeah.
Like we didn't do nothing. Like when you have that little baby,
You're taking advantage of every
you
moment.
take advantage of every moment, even though all it does is just lay there and eat and and sleep, and then you change it, right? Like it's just, but it was so cool just to sit around and do nothing during that time.
Well, that was us with COVID. Stella was born in May of 2020.
Yeah.
So we were at home with a newborn for 6-8 months. I mean, we didn't even end up putting her in daycare till after 1 because you were just still so nervous about her being around other people and other kids. And so that was when we really had to figure out, luckily at the time I was working at a title company that was super flexible, but you were like really leaning into those.
For a week, I thought I wasn't gonna have a job.
Yeah, it was wild. I remember
a weird time.
Yeah, I remember that time too because I remember the team with Jeffrey. We were reading Who Moved My Cheese.
Oh yeah,
I want you to think about that.
Great book.
Wow.
We did the mastermind,
Yep.
remember?
Yeah.
So we were reading Who Moved My Cheese, and literally, like in that time frame, COVID happens.
That could not have been the more perfect book.
It's like, the timing of it, I just thought, okay, guys,
Right.
I
It was
didn't
ironic.
plan this, but this is weird.
Yeah.
And I remember getting everybody on the conference call and going, okay, we can survive. We've got enough money where everybody's going to have a job. Everybody's
Right.
going to be fine. I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're all going to be good. Let's just go deeper with our clients. Let's dig in with our clients and make sure everybody's doing well. Let's make sure everybody's,
Right.
is
And then the
connected.
smartest clients were like, "I'll happily invest in marketing."
Oh yeah.
They're like, "Okay,
Yeah, it was all they had at that
perfect
time.
And then the market exploded,
Yeah.
right? And then it was kind of a weird market because people didn't even remember there were no open houses.
Oh, yeah.
You remember this?
Yeah.
It was a magical. There was you didn't ever have
But
to do
stuff
an
was
open
flying
house
off the shelf.
because it would sell
Insanity.
before it even got assigned.
Yep.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah, that will probably never happen in our lifetime.
I hope
don't.
not.
No,
I don't
somebody
think
said it'll happen, but it'll come it'll because we have another global something,
Oh,
pandemic,
interesting.
crash,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Somebody was telling me about, maybe it was a podcast I was listening to, but they were like, yeah, sure. You want to have that again? It's going to come at the expense of
Yeah.
something. Yeah. With
What's
the cost.
the after effect is what we experienced past 2 years,
Right.
3 years.
Yes.
So that's
And
the
then
after
now
effect.
we're getting back to normal, which goes back to like the original comment, which was so much of this business is education.
Right.
Yes.
And like everybody's like, oh my gosh, 6% interest rates. It's like, but that's actually kind of where they were.
Yeah.
David and I were looking at a house and we pulled up some information about it. And in 2014, his interest rate was like 9.25%.
Yeah. Yep.
And we're like, why are people, I think you just got a taste of it for those 2 years of those unicorn years.
Yeah.
And then they start to steadily go back up to what we kind of were normally seeing. And everybody's like, it's too high. I'm waiting for them to come back down.
Yeah.
They're going to come back down at a cost.
Same with agents. They got hot and heavy in the 2021 years. And now it's like, how do I get business? And the business was just handed to you back then.
Was handed.
Right.
Yeah.
If they got in around that time.
And I'm curious too, like, what are you telling your agents right now? Because definitely the market, like if you go back to 19, and you think about business at night before the pandemic, and you think about business now, the market obviously has changed. What I keep telling people is the luxury market is actually doing well. It's I think it's around 13 to 16% higher than what it was last year, right? So it's doing well, $1 million and up. And I've heard some different statistics on that. I was talking with some agents about that. But I'm curious, what are you telling your agents now that is truly going to move the needle for their growth? What are you saying?
There you go. Yeah,
So, well, for starters, we will talk to them about, let's say, like interest rates, for example, or the market, the direction of the market. But there's only so much that we can interpret from what we hear and read and see without it becoming maybe confusing or without it being incorrect. And so, because we're going to have our own interpretation of it. And so we always like to surround them with guest speakers such as yourself. You're always doing statistical research, your former math teacher, always doing research on the market, the luxury market, all of that. We surround them with Nikki Salter, who's one of the top loan officers in the nation. She's constantly looking at rates and getting creative and reading up on what the market, and they're having their managers meetings. And so we always try to empower our agents with like the people that are living in that field, that are doing the research, because we don't want to misspeak based off of what we heard on a podcast or the news or whatever our interpretation of it is. So that's one thing. And then in regards to helping clients and like what's propelling their growth, and we just tell them, like, I know the market might be weird right now, but so much of this is education. Educate your clients and ask more. I'm really big on ninja selling, and a lot of it is tell me more about it. Hey, I'm waiting for interest rates to go down. Well, tell me more. Why is that? And half the time the conversation is there. That's just like their little one line or commissions. Hey, well, talk to me about commissions. And so many times I think agents, I'm not saying our agents, but I think agents in general are like, do you want me to discount my commission? What do you want to know? We don't have to pay. Like, they get very nervous. And instead you can just say, tell me more about it. What is it you want to know? Oh, well, David started doing that and his clients were like, oh, well, I don't know. I just heard about it. What does it mean? And what does it mean for you? And I'm not going to discount your commission, but I just want to know, what does that mean? Or what are you saying? A lot of the times clients are just curious. Yeah. So we tell them, like, look, peel back the layers, go deeper with your clients instead of staying surface. And so go deeper, ask them more, tell me more about that. What is it about interest rates? What is it about why you're hesitant to pull the trigger right now? What is it that you're hearing? What is it that you're reading? And then you kind of peel back those layers. And that's when a realtor is a therapist. Yeah. And you talk to them and you say, look, now's a really good time. We're kind of in this protected little bubble. Let's get you in a house by the holidays. Can't you picture your kids coming down those stairs Christmas morning? And can't you, let's not deal with the holiday frenzy, and let's not deal with the new year. And, whatever the time is, taxes and whatever it is, educate
there's
them.
Always something.
There's always something. Educate them, but also peel back the layers, get to know what their real reason is, and then kind of just start to attack it from all those angles. And that's what we're saying in regards to how we can help them, is like having better intentional conversations with their clients and not just being surface. And so a lot of that comes from, ninja selling, which is something I'm really big into.
Market spiked 21 into 2022. It started declining a lot, and there was agents that jumped out. They just couldn't be in anymore. And there was agents that knew that during the slow time, it's a time that I need to build a system. I need to focus on, go back to the basics. It was the biggest saying, and it's true. Have your CRM, have your email list, get everything dialed in. And while you're dialed in the bad market, be top of mind at all times. In the past 2.5 years, I've been preaching that to our agents, and they've been putting in the videos, the content, the education, the advising. And the past 2.5 years, they've built a brand for themselves. They're top of mind at all times. No matter what market it is, they're always seen first on the feed. And so that's how we teach our agents, say, hey, when it's slow, focus on yourself, focus on your systems, pour into your clients, pour into other agents, build some network, follow up. There's just so many things behind the scenes that agents could be focused on in a down market that will make them amazing during times when it's about to peak right now.
And that's what we're preaching to them right now, especially as we're Q4. So many agents are kind of just checked out for the year. They're
already.
like, before you know it, it's Halloween, then Thanksgiving, then Christmas, then I'm done. So I'm just going to check out now.
Yeah.
And we tell our agents, like, this is the time to rev up. This time last year, we started reading Atomic Habits, and we turned that into a 12-week book club. We wanted it to start November, December, January, so they were starting off the year. So many times they're like, I didn't hit my goal for the year. I'm done. I'll restart next year. And we're like, no, while everybody's slowing down, and maybe you are a little slower right now, now's the time, like David said, to put those systems into place, build out every single SOP for everything you do, how to write a thank you card, how to think a referral, whatever it is, build that, pour into yourself, read the books. We just started another book club for the Go Giver. Do all, pour into yourself, clean up your database, follow up with your clients, and build up all of that pipeline, because so much of Q4 and your productivity can set the stage for 2026, for Q1, for all of 2026, if depending on how hard you hit it. And so we're like, now's not the time to pull back. Now's the time to like put the pedal to the metal and just all the way until December 31st, at least you gave it your all and you did every last thing. You could hit your goal depending on how far you are in this next quarter.
That's the hardest thing as a new agent. When you first start out, you think, big commissions immediately. Like, you don't realize the amount of effort you put in the first 2 months. You're not going to see the effect for another 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Right.
Marketing takes a while for you to see those leads actually, convert. And so our agents know that. And that's why it's like you have your foundation of marketing, your social media, then you have your layers of content, your video content, your micro content, your educational pieces. How are you using that to leverage to your clients and make conversation? And that's what actually sparks a business and longevity. And so that to me is the biggest value we have with our agents, that we were able to sit them down and walk them through everything.
But everything you just said, that goes back to what our ideal agent is. Agents that want accountability. Agents that are ready to put their foot on the gas Q4, and not the agents that are like, I'm done, I'm checked out. That's what we want. We want accountability. We want agents that are like, when's the next book club? Can I sit down with you for coaching? Can I sit down for business planning? We want the agents that realize all of that are doing this full time,
afraid to ask questions,
and aren't afraid to just continue working really hard and at a high level and hold themselves accountable. And we have some agents that are like, I promise I'm working, I'm just so busy. We're like, great. We believe you, we see it, the proof is in the pudding. We have a leaderboard at our office. And we update it daily. Those are the agents that we want. The agents that want to be held accountable, that want to be pushed, and that want that. And that's what we have now, and we're really grateful. But we know that we need to grow. We know that comes with scaling, and we'll see what 2026 has in store.
Yeah. It's going to be good. 2026, I feel very optimistic, especially with the way the luxury market has transpired towards the end of this year. A lot of agents are busy right now. There's some good stuff going on. Big properties going on the market. Austin is flat. It's really interesting to me how flat Austin is. Yeah. And we're ahead of last year. So in the luxury market, we're between 13 and 16% ahead, which is very interesting to me. Now, obviously, that's all in the 1 million to 1.999, right? Like that. Right. That's our sweet spot, and then a lot of it would probably be 1 to 1.555. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's going to be in that the smaller amount of the $1 million. But we're seeing more houses come on the market in the million. I mean, it's crazy to walk into a house and you're like, this is $1 million. Like, wow, like this neighborhood's $1 million. Yeah. Right. Okay. So to wrap this up, we're going to do something new.
Okay.
What is that?
I'm super excited about this.
Okay.
So, have you ever seen the podcast Diary of a CEO?
Yes.
It's one of my favorite podcasts. So
I love him.
He just released conversation cards.
Love it.
We do this at dinner.
Yeah, Diary of a CEO conversation cards.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, super cool. Now, here's the thing. You both get to pick a card.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you're going to get to look at your question. Right? You get to look at your question, but you only have to answer one of the cards. So you both get to look, and then you only have to answer. Now the idea here is that maybe one of you is like, no, we should really answer this one, but maybe you go, no, we got to answer this one. So you guys get to decide. So pick your card. You go first. These are conversation cards from Diary of CEO. Read your question, and I have not read all of these. So look at your question. And then look, you guys, look at each other's question there, and then pick which one you feel like
yours first.
Yours only. Mine only.
Yes, yours only for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna.
We'll have to show you later. Though.
Yeah,
All
we'll show
right,
you later,
hold on,
and
let
you'll know
me
why.
Oh goodness gracious!
Here, maybe a mulligan, maybe a do-over.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Wow. That's a deep question.
Yeah.
All right. So what question did you get?
Okay, so we decided on who was the person who first believed in you.
Oh, that's a good question.
So my brain works in like I always have tears. I think it goes without saying, like family. Obviously,
Right.
you know, we talked about my dad being like,
Yep.
"You're a big fish in a small pot." I'm not. Family goes without saying, but I would say, honestly, I think I will give this one up to Nikki Salter because at the time she scooped me up when I was kind of like I was burnt out in title insurance. I was burnt out. We had a lot of changes in leadership and we were about to get married. And I was like, gosh, what am I going to do now? But I'm just like so tapped out. She called me, left me a voicemail, and she says, "I heard you're a free agent. Let's talk." And I knew I knew of her. We ironically found some pictures of us tagged together for different events, but I never actually, she and I never worked together. And so she kind of scooped me up, this title rep girl that she didn't really know much about me except for my reputation, which falls back into the PR side of it. And we talked and she says, "I want you to be my business development rep and your first order of business is helping me raise $500,000 for LLS."
Whoa.
And I'm like, okay. So
I remember that.
Yep. And
Yeah.
and she's like, "I want to break all national records and we're going to do it. And that's your first 6 weeks here on top of us planning a wedding."
Wow.
And she believed in me and and till this day, she still believes in me. She's like, "Alanna, you should do all these things." I'm like, "Nikki, I'm not that smart." And she's like, you are so much smarter than you believe." And Nikki is to me as you are to David. Like y'all are our former bosses, our former employers.
Give mine away already.
Oh my bad. That are like our mentors still that we fall back on in so much of our life lessons. And so I'm going to give that one to Nikki Salter at Legacy Mutual Mortgage.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's a good one.
She continues to remind both of us that you and I are more powerful than we think we are.
I think, okay, so I got three.
Oh?
I got three. The one is the first person to believe in me was myself. I think that was a big one. I had to think I can do it. And then the second one was you. You know, you gave me the freedom to quit my job.
Yeah.
A very nice income. She was, you know, if you're going to do it, you should do it. And she floated the family for a while. And so that was a big one for me. And then I wouldn't have gotten to that point without you. And then I'll take my $20, but every single day was something. And I think back even to this morning, you know, I'm like, well, you know, Tomas gave me this work ethic and he always treated everybody with such kindness. I remember sitting down in our first week and we sat down, we went over goals. I've never grown up, never did goals, financial goals, getting deep. How much do you want to make by the end of the year? How can we get there? Here's a roadmap. And it translates to everything. Real estate, family. You looked me in the eye and you gave me the support and confidence that I can do it. And I felt that working here and I felt that transitioning to real estate. And I felt that when she even gave me the motivation to do it my own. So the trifecta of believing in yourself, surrounded by those that believe in you and having the spouse to actually support it really made me what I am today.
Yeah, I love that. Now I got to answer.
Okay.
All right.
So to me, I think it would probably go my mama because my mom was massive. One of the craziest stories I don't think I've ever shared on the podcast is I did not want to go to college. At all. I had no desire to go to college.
Wow.
And I invited the ITT technical school dude to my house because I was going to do ITT tech. And the guy shows up with a little TV with a VCR. This is how long ago this was.
Wow.
This was in 1994, guys. Yeah. Were y'all born yet?
I was
94? You were 3?
I was 4.
All right, so this is in 1994, okay? And I've got this TV, and the guy plays a video, and I'm all excited, and my mom is sitting on the couch, arms crossed the whole time.
Not buying it.
And the guy's like, you know, you're going to learn computer animated drafting, CAD, and you're going to do this and this. And I was just like, well, I like to draw. And he's like, do you have any drawings? And I ran and grabbed all my drawings. I'm like a senior in high school showing him all my drawings from when I was in middle school.
I'm dead.
And I'll never forget my mom. She looks at the gentleman and she says, you can go now. My son's going to college.
Wow.
And I just was like, really? Me? Like, how? My SAT score was so bad. Like, I had to take it twice. Okay. Like, it was terrible. Like, I was below 1,000. I was in the 800s.
Yeah.
Like, I was not a test taker. That was not my jam. But my mom was like, my son's going to college. And so I was like, I looked at the dude. I was like, I guess I'm going to college. I don't know what that
Can
means.
you leave the TV though?
But can you leave the VCR?
Yeah.
But mom was a big believer. And then of course, Christina, like, the thing that was interesting is I never thought I'd own a business. I had no aspirations to own a business.
Right.
I was a teacher and I was an educator. And at one point we weren't making any money. Like when I say we weren't making any money, like we were like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And so I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go get a job as a waiter. I have a job as a teacher
During the day.
during the day. And I'm like, I'm going to go get a waiting job and I'm going to wait tables. Cause that's what I knew. I loved waiting tables.
Dude, same.
I loved
David
it. It was,
wishes he could go. He's like,
It
I
was
would
the
go wait
best.
tables
I
right now if I
all
could.
I just want
day.
one night.
He's like,
Give
I
me
just want one night to
You
make
know
as
how much
many
money I would
tips.
make?
Yes. He says it all the time. I'm like, go find a restaurant.
But here's
He
it. But people don't
itches
realize
for that.
you always had cash in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about it. I mean, I
It was
worked
the
at
thrill
gyms.
of the kill, like just trying to like the upsell. And he's like, I would
Yeah.
ring people up and tell them I didn't charge them for sodas.
The Red Robin's listening. Don't do that.
You were Red
He's like,
Robin.
so
Oh,
I
that's
could get a
funny.
bigger tip. Like,
Man,
he's like,
those
it is a
unlimited
sales
basket of
game.
fries were pretty amazing at Red
Dangerous.
Robin.
They cut that off. Yeah.
But here's the thing. They did. They stopped doing it. Oh, it's a bummer. So here's what's crazy is, I want to go wait tables, and Christina literally looked at me and she's like, "You're not gonna wait. You're a teacher. You have a degree. You're not gonna wait tables."
Wow.
She's like, "We need to find something in your field." We go to the newspaper. I don't think I've ever shared this on the podcast.
Wow.
We go to the newspaper. And Christina finds educational consultant needed. She circles it and she's like, you need to apply for this. I've been a teacher for a year at that point.
Wow.
So I apply. Shout out to 40 Farrier. I send a fax, people. Like this was
Wow.
before computer and email.
Scanning,
I
yeah.
faxed my resume. They call me back and they're like, we want you to be at this restaurant over off of Fredericksburg. I go to that. That starts my speaking career. I start consulting for their company and I become an educational consultant, only being a teacher for a year. I was traveling the state of Texas teaching teachers for the next 10 years.
Wow.
From an ad in a paper for educational consultant.
We did not know that.
Isn't that wild?
That's cool.
Yeah, but that's because my wife was like,
Yeah.
no, you can do something bigger than doing
Right,
tables,
right.
So
Wow.
those people that believe in us, right? Like that's a big part of how we got to this
That's an
point
amazing
and how
story.
we are here. So last question, favorite book that you like to give as a couple? What book do you guys like to give?
You go first.
That give away?
Man. Real estate or in general?
Just in general, like a book that you give, the book you give away the most. What's the book you give away the most?
Mine kind of varies based off of like what's going on. Of course, I'm sure like you only read like self-help.
Yep.
Right now it's like about raising children and all the different emotions. And then we're reading The Go-Giver
Okay.
and Atomic Habits and Ninja Selling. So I would say Atomic Habits is a great start for anybody. I know that I'm going to look back on this. We're going to drive away in the car and I'm going to
know.
be like, why did I not mention X, Y, and Z book?
Yeah.
Gosh, there's just so many good books.
Yeah.
There was a book that I read. I don't give this book away, but there was a book that I read when I was, I think, in college, and it was The Power of Saying Yes, which we had talked about at the beginning. And it was at the beginning, sometimes you do just have to say yes and build the parachute on the way down. And you just have to say yes to opportunities. And now, as we've gotten older, if it's not, a hell yes, then it's a no. And if
Yeah.
we wouldn't do it right now, right this moment, then it's a no.
Right.
So, that's one of them. I think The Power of the Habit is a fantastic book.
Oh, yeah.
The first book I hand any agent that joins our brokerage is Ninja Selling.
Good.
And then from there, we go down the list of all the Ninja Selling books, which is The Go-Giver, Atomic Habits.
Simon Sinek, Start with Why.
Start with
Oh, yeah,
Why.
that's a great
And,
one.
all of the John Maxwell
Yeah.
books that we've all done together. Invaluable Laws of Leadership. That one, I know you and I are going to drive here being like, wow.
Well,
we
you
should-
answered mine. Mine would be Start with Why and The Go-Giver right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are good. So the book that I always tell everybody is the E-Myth. If they're starting a business, it's called the E-Myth.
I think
I think you've told us
The
about that. I probably,
entrepreneurial myth.
Yeah.
I highly recommend that.
I
it was
I
funny.
need you to just write a book already.
Yeah,
so
I'm
we
trying.
can start giving that one out.
Oh man,
That would be
seriously,
great.
that's definitely it's on the
You-
agenda.
You have 20 years of journaling. You just
Well, yeah, I have I think over 60 of these now.
Yeah.
I've gotten up to 60.
That's-
The
which is
Psychology
crazy.
of Money.
That's a good
Think
one.
and Grow
yeah.
Rich.
Yeah.
All of those are good
He was just on the
ones.
Diary of CEO.
Was he?
Yeah,
Okay.
the CEO Diaries. That the guy that wrote that book, and because he just wrote another book.
Well, he did an
yeah.
edited version of it, or he added something into it. I think.
Well, I think he
over
wrote
the
a
year.
whole new one.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
because I thought I saw that there was a added version to the Psychology of Money.
I found my journal working here that one.
Oh, shut up!
First one. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I remember probably the coolest trip is when we rode the Volon, and we went to Dallas,
yeah.
from Austin, and we're working all the way to Volon.
Was that
doing
for the
our-
Core
That
training?
was for the Core.
Yeah.
Core training.
That
Core
was
Summit.
Yeah.
That was a cool training. But listen, David and Alanna, thank you for being on TM3 Impact. I think this
honor.
is going to be really, really impactful to people starting a brokerage or people starting a business. I mean, all of this connects. And wishing you both tremendous success as you continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Woo!